I'm certainly not an expert in this, but I'm very interested in this. We have a saying in Spanish that says, and maybe we get Scott to translate it. It's en el país de los ciegos, el tuerto es rey. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So if you guys don't know anything about polyvagal theory, then I'm going to be king here. So what fascinated me about this is that we have all have studied about our emotions and our feelings. You know, we had introduction to feelings on Saturday morning on our NWTA, and many of us have done work prior and subsequent to that to really connect with what's going on with us emotionally. The thing that fascinates me about polyvagal theory is that it gives us the neurophysiology or the mechanics of the emotions. What's going on in the nervous system when I'm feeling scared, when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm anxious, when I'm feeling connected. The various things that we all experience every day, every moment of our lives. So as an overview, what I'm going to give you tonight is going to be a little bit about the anatomy of the mechanics, and then how that works and how it impacts our feelings and really our behavior subsequent to that. And then we're going to do some practical applications. We're going to do some exercises, and then we're going to offer you an opportunity to start mapping your own nervous system so that you can have an awareness of where you are on this polyvagal spectrum. And all this is going to make sense as we go, but I just want to give you an idea of what we're going to do. So we have I want to make a statement that says we have two great needs, and one of them is we come into this world wired to connect. So that's a given. If you think about that, every time I go to a summer gathering or in a large group of men, and we ask, what do you want to get out of this weekend? What do you want to get out of this? And the resounding thing is often connection. So so at the bottom, at the end of the thing, what we're all yearning for is some connection. Secondly, we want to feel safe. We have a tremendous need to feel safe. And it makes sense that if I don't feel safe, I'm not going to be able to connect. Now, we use the word perception, but the man that started this polyvagal theory, his name is Steve Porges. He started a new word, or created a word that's called neuroception. And this is below our conscious awareness. Things that come into us that we're not even conscious, but that radar, this checking out, am I safe? Am I safe? That is what neuroception does. So it's below our conscious mind. So now I want to tell you a little bit about, well, first of all, let me stop. Everybody with me so far? Anybody got any different needs, or doesn't buy those two things I just told you about? All right. So talk to you about the vagus nerve. Anybody ever hear of the vagus nerve? Look at you. All right. So there are 12 cranial nerves, and the vagus nerve is one of them. I think it's number 10. And these are nerves that come from the brain, as opposed to nerves that come from the spinal cord. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body, and it's part of the autonomic nervous system. We have a central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord. And there's also the peripheral nerves, which are the nerves that go out. And then there's this autonomic nervous system. I call it the automatic nervous system, because what it does is it controls involuntary things. it regulates your heart rate, regulates your breathing, digestion, sexual arousal, uh, all all that is handled by the autonomic nervous system. And it has the autonomic nervous system has two main branches or two main components. One of them is called the sympathetic, and the other one is called the parasympathetic. It's not real critical that you keep all this. And in a minute, I'm going to show you a chart that's going to help you understand it better. But just think of the sympathetic and parasympathetic. The parasympathetic slows things down, and it's in the vagus nerve. The sympathetic stimulates things, and it goes down the spinal cord. Now, the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic, has two parts. It has what's called a dorsal and a ventral. So to summarize, we really have three pathways. We have a dorsal vagal, a ventral vagal, and a sympathetic. So think of it as a three-lane highway. You know how sometimes that middle lane can, in some cities, they'll switch it, the direction of traffic. Well, just think about just three lanes. And then we're going to show what we got going on here. I'm going to show you briefly how this plays out a little bit. This is a chart that shows how these three branches play out. This red area up here, which is the top one, affected by the dorsal branch of the vagal nerve. That was one of the three branches we were talking about. And it is the most primitive thing that we have in our evolution. And everything in this whole chart and everything we're going to talk about is about, remember what we said? Keeping safe. So freezing, when this branch is stimulated, and we feel really threatened, life is threatened, we freeze. Then when there's, and we're going to come back and go through all the different things in detail, but first I just want to give you the overview. Dorsal vagal, we freeze. That's the most threatening place where we are. However, at some point, we can move into this hyperarousal, or we've all heard this term fight or flight. We're now in the yellow section. And this is danger, and we're really stimulated here to take action. Fight or flight. And then the last thing to come on board evolutionary-wise is this right here, which is social engagement. This is in the green section. This is stimulated by the ventral vagal. And this is where we have connection, we feel safe. And while this is very appealing to us, we all want to be here, we really need all three. And these things are not mutually exclusive. I can be right here at social engagement, and then something can trigger me, and I can be, in a place of anxiety. And I can still feel some connection. Maybe while I'm giving this talk, I'm feeling very connected with all you men. And there's some anxiety, am I explaining this in a way that that's going to be useful for you? So I got a little bit of this going on. Okay. Anybody, any questions? Okay. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's not so good.
I just wanted to say something that what I found most interesting, one of the most interesting things is the parasympathetic system, I always thought of it as this the part of being just totally calmed down. Polyvagal helped me understand that freezing, and it happened to me quite often. Someone's yelling at me that's bigger than me, and I go into freeze, and that's also part of the branch of the parasympathetic in the reading that I did, and that was very interesting to me, and also helpful. And then as we'll get into, you'll see we'll have 10 ways to also navigate your nervous system. It's been helpful for me to be able to get out of the freeze or the fight or flight in the middle of the night. So stay tuned for that.
Good. Thank you, Mark. Think of the chart is nice, but this is it's kind of like a continuum. I'm going to say to you that there may be a time where you're feeling, say, to use some of the words, the anxiety, fear, anger, rage. So there will be, that can lead you to a place of being shut down, hopelessness, or feeling trapped. Does that make sense? That one will lead to the other? All right, well, let's say you're in a night group and things are really going great. Y'all have checked in, everything's fine, and you're just happy to see everybody, and you're just feeling grounded, and you have a certain calmness and everything that's the green is showing us. And then all of a sudden, somebody throws a bomb in the middle of the circle, maybe is attacking you in some way or another. So that's what I'm talking about.
It's like if you're a salesman and you're out and you have to meet a new client, and you're in social engagement, you're at the high level, a low level of fight or flight, maybe anxious and worried, like I am, and am I going to do it right? Am I going to do it? But you kind of like wave in and out of it. So they call them hybrid states, where you can do two simultaneously, but obviously you can't be in the high level of fight or flight, panic, and grounded all at the same time. Those are going to be in conflict.
There's a part of when we talk about being in the victim role, this is what I personally experience. There's a sense of hopelessness, there's a sense of feeling trapped in that state for me. Helplessness, that is really describes my place. And I have shame, and there are times when depression, and the majority of these I've experienced, or I do experience, when I'm in this place. Do y'all relate to that?
I think the thing we're getting hung up on is we're talking about a chemical, hormonal, electrical system, and we're trying to describe it with words. So I think you have to just kind of flow with this for a while, because the words are confusing. How can you feel comfortable and yet be in danger? So your nervous system is an amazing thing, and that's really what they're trying to say, is all this can go on at the same time. It's like having your grandmother in a fire. You feel compassionate, you want to get her out of there, but you better get it done real quick. So your nervous system's an amazing thing. We need to give these guys more time to let us experience it. Don't get hung up on the words.
And I know that you've all looked at all these words, descriptive words. It'd be worthwhile taking a look at over here on the right-hand side, how that the particular state impacts our physiology that's going on with us. For example, when I am in this fight or flight state, my blood pressure goes up, my heart rate goes up, fuel availability, the adrenaline, the oxygen circulation to my vital organs is increased, blood clotting, my pupil size dilates, my pupil dilates, my bronchi also dilate, and my defensive responses are up. And then look at what happens. Fuel storage decreases. That's because, you know, the fuel's going to the fight. Insulin activity, digestion decreases, our mouth gets dry, relational ability. If you've ever seen me get triggered on a weekend, I don't relate particularly well when I'm, you know, when my Stephen Vedro can attest to that. And he saved me from it. He helped me get back down here. Immune response is decreased. Let's look how good things get for us. Look how many they got over here that increased when we're in ventral vagal. Our digestion increases, you know, intestinal motility works. We are more resistant to infection. Our immune response is better, which is essentially, I guess, the same thing as that. We are rest and recuperation, health and vitality, the circulation to the non-vital organs like your skin and extremities. Oxytocin, which you all know is the feel-good hormone that we get when we do a good hug. Ability to relate and connect. Movement in the eyes and head turning. I don't know what prosody in voice means. Anybody got that?
Yes, it has to do with rather than very monotone, like when you're angry, you're very monotone. And I don't know exactly, but the research I've done is that when you're in social, you can actually hear it in the voice. And when you're in fight or flight, some of the research I've done is when you're in fight or flight, you lose the ability to receive and understand when people are in a more relaxed, friendly voice.
Right.
Or and their face, you in fight or flight, you lose the ability to see someone that's peaceful. You think they're angry at you. Yeah. It's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's right. You lose your ability to read visual cues, and then over here, when we go up to freeze, the dorsal vagal increases fuel storage and insulin activity. Immobilization, you know, with fear, we get frozen. Endorphins that help numb and raise the pain threshold. Conservation of metabolic resources. You know, when I go bike riding, they got these, what do you call those tortoises? Anyway, these Florida tortoises are all over the place. And, you know, I always think of this as, you know, when a tortoise or a turtle goes all inside, that's the image I have of this. And then the heart rate decreases, blood pressure goes down, temperature, muscle tone. Here's this facial expressions and eye contact. Yeah. Don't make eye contact. Have you seen that? When you're facilitating somebody on the carpet and they get out there and they're in this state, they have a little trouble looking at you. Depth of breath, social behavior, attunement to human voice, sexual responses, immune response, all that is decreased.
One of the, as we go through these ways of stimulating the vagus nerve, it's saliva is one of the good indicators that, like in other words, when you're doing deep breathing and you're breathing through your nose, there's an indicator when your nervous system calms down. All of a sudden, you'll notice saliva, and it might not be tonight because you know but over time, it's one of those things. And another thing that I wanted to mention, kind of like the super duper duper basics way, like super simple, is our ability to notice what state we're in is one of the challenges, because oftentimes when we're talking, we're engaging in life, we're out here, and what we're talking about is an internal inspection. You're going in feeling your own body and what's going on in your body. It's not real familiar to all of us. And obviously the Mankind Project, a lot of our work is about going internal. So you're way ahead of the group. But when we start mapping the nervous system, that's after this, your ability to do simple noticing, this old game that a friend of mine made up called the noticing game. Notice what's going on in your body.
So this is just another way of looking at it. If you think of the ladder, and if you notice, this is upside down from what we're looking at, but this up here is kind of a, the top of the ladder is a pretty nice place, ventral, and the ventral vagal, and then sympathetic and dorsal. And this is to illustrate the point that you have to go from one to two to three, or however you want to look at it, rather than you don't just go from ventral to dorsal. That's all that is. Okay.
So how that would work is if you're feeling yourself shut down, doing something more active rather than trying to just go and meditate. Right. And meditation might work, but going through some activity before you get into the ventral vagal or social and safety. All right.
Very good.
Yeah. All right, we're all ready to get into 10 ways to stimulate the vagus nerve. I had to do a little because I couldn't do notes, and so you're going to see me do a lot of reading. So basically, I'm in. My mouth is dry, so I can tell I'm in fight or flight right now, and I'm okay. So I'm in right now, just doing a little breathing and feeling myself drop into connection with you men. And so it's an example of how good when we know where we are, we know where we can go. Like I was saying, when we're in the frozen state, kind of reading your system and saying, oh, rather than doing a couple of breaths, maybe I need to take a walk around the block, like I was saying. There's a couple just different notes that I took about the vagus nerve. It's basically how to talk to your nervous system so you can make friends with the system. Simply said, our vagus nerve is hundreds of thousands of years old, much older than our verbal abilities. Thus, using words or trying to think our way out of it into stimulating the vagus or the social engagement doesn't work. And that's why you're going to see some things that you're familiar with, but it's basically how do we directly interact with our own nervous system. This old system, 500,000 years old is the oldest one. So trying to talk yourself out of it or tell your buddy, hey, calm down the old way, no, that's not going to work. So one of the things is called cold exposure. And short-term cold exposure has been shown to activate the vagus nerve. And when we refer to activating the vagus nerve, we're talking about putting ourselves in ventral vagal social engagement. And research has also found that exposing yourself to cold on a regular basis lowers the sympathetic fight or flight response and increases the parasympathetic activity in the vagus nerve.
Stop a minute and go over, explain that a little bit.
Yeah. How it works, or okay.
Is what happens is it using parasympathetic sympathetic gets it's hard for me to track.
Okay.
I've been messing with this for 6 months, so can you? I may be the only guy.
Fight or flight is a better term to use.
No, just You can.
Okay. So basically, the cold exposure allows our vagus nerve to, over time, calm down. And my theory about it is, I don't know how factual it is, but it puts our mind in neutral and has us feel our body. And then over time, with that activity, our sympathetic nervous system calms down, our vagus system. So basically, the exercise is to try to finish your next shower for the last 30 minutes, 30 seconds of your shower. Excuse me. So basically, 30 seconds your last shower, try it every day. So after you're done with your hot shower, turn just cold water on for 30 seconds.
So hold on a second.
Yeah.
Greg Harrison had his hand up.
Okay.
You're on mute.
You're
Greg.
on mute.
You answered the question. I wondered, how do you do cold exposure? Do you go jump in the refrigerator or?
Yes. Just cold shower, 30 seconds. And if that's too much, they also say you could stick your face in cold water to acclimate yourself. John, you have a question?
Well, I'm wondering how this plays on the weekend with the morning cold showers that we lead and have the brothers, that the new initiates follow.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Good one. I think that's a form of. I guess Mario could talk more about that.
Well, it makes me wonder if our founders, or the people that designed that, really knew what they were doing.
Or if they just got lucky.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to pass judgment on that one.
I like the idea that they're taking the cold shower with the team, cheering them on. So you've got depression of the response in one hand and the positive joy of your connection.
Yeah. An accomplishment.
Right about that time, right after Midnight Adventure, we start building their connection, their team. Yeah.
Yep. I know I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And being cheered on, I was like, what the hell? And like, holy, I'm down in Broward County, and our cold water is not cold. It was cold up there.
There's a co-leader a man named J.D. Wolf, who's out on the West Coast. And every morning he starts his day in some really cold immersion. I thought he was crazy, but then I saw this, and he is pretty laid back dude.
Yeah. Anthony Robbins has a pool that's like, I think 4 feet by 4 feet, but it's like 10 feet deep, and he immerses himself in 60 degrees or 50-degree water. So good for him, not me. So yeah, the next on the list is deep, slow belly breathing. So if you can imagine yourself, everyone taking a nice breath down into their, in Chinese medicine, they call it the lower dantian, all the way down below your belly button. Expanding your belly out and then exhaling slowly. Inhale. Yes. So this is another way to stimulate the vagus nerve. It's been shown to reduce anxiety and increase the ventral vagal, the social engagement activity. And can you say something, Mario, about what do they call it? The vagus strength, or the ability to go between the different vagus nerves?
Okay, well,
different.
I'm not sure. I don't know if this is what you meant, but when you breathe in,
yes,
you're stimulating your heart rate to go faster. That's sympathetic. And then when you exhale, it's parasympathetic. And that slows your heart rate down. So whenever we say breathe, or when we start to get grounded, it's really important. I call it belly breathing. Just that my abdomen, I inhale, I inspire, and my stomach goes out. And then when I exhale, I do it slowly, and my stomach goes in. And that will have a definite effect on me every time.
Yeah, most people take like 10 to 14 breaths a minute. We're talking about 6 breaths a minute, and that's what is optimum. They say 5.5 breaths a minute, but 6. So if you count to in breath of 6, exhale 6, then you're right in there. I'm going to demo, and then we can all do it together. It's called the 4-7-8 breath. It's a well-known breath to calm, to do this. I find it to be great. You don't want to do any more than 5 or 6 of them, because it can get you a little too chilled out, which means it could get you loopy. And you don't know how your nervous system responds to it. It's a very, very powerful technique. Any of the meditation teachers I've been to, they've all said, try 5, but don't do any more than 5, or no more than 10. And then once you're acclimate and comfortable with 10, then you can do maybe 20, but step into it slowly. So the breath is you inhale for 4, you hold your breath for a count of 7, and I'll do the counting for everyone. And the exhale is twice as long as the inhale. And that tends to be the go-to, is if you inhale count of 4, exhale slowly, is usually twice as long as the inhale. So I'll demo it, and we can also mix it with putting our hands over our chest, which is not real easy with the cast, but so I'm going to inhale with a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for a count of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, count of 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How is that for everyone? You have any questions? Okay, so we'll do a round of 5 of those, and kind of check out what state you're in before we do this, and then after. It's always good to see if there's any progress as far as being able to get yourself into ventral vagal. So we'll do 5 of those breaths. So, okay, close your eyes. Inhale in a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 4, 3, 4. Hold. Count of 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Take a few seconds always after you're doing something like this before you open your eyes. And when you're ready, flutter your eyes open. So I want to see anyone that feels a little bit more ventral vagal with any thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit more calm. Anyone less calm? Nope. Okay. So it worked, unless
It
the
worked. It worked. It worked.
it worked.
Good job.
Okay, and the next, number 3, we have singing, humming, chanting, and gargling. So yeah, the vagus nerve is connected to the vocal cords, the muscles of the back of the throat. So singing, humming, chanting, gargling can activate these muscles and stimulate the vagus nerve. This has been shown to increase the vagal tone. That's the word I was looking for, vagal tone. So basically, like when you go to the gym, as you do, you acclimate yourself to your nervous system, you're going to be able to notice, to neurocept what stage you're in and be able to put yourself in different states. And this is where your ventral tone comes in. It's kind of like going to the gym and you're working out, you're familiar with your nervous system. So there's a couple of things that I do, saying Om 3 times, like they do at the beginning of a yoga class. Again, this is something that you don't, I used to think you could do Om for 10 minutes, but there's a reason why you don't. Again, it can get you almost checked out. Chanting, in yoga, they do kirtan. I've done a lot of yoga, a lot of studying in yoga, so that's where I'm most familiar. Krishna Das, one time I went for a 2-hour kirtan where you're singing and chanting for 2 hours. Wow, I was like totally blissed out for like 2 days. It was amazing. And gargling water before you swallow it. I've not tried this one, but go for it. Meditation is actually my favorite relaxation technique, and it stimulates the vagus nerve, and it also increases vagal tone. There's a lot of studies on the internet about how meditation helps you out and allows you to use more areas of your brain. So research shows meditation increases vagal tone, positive emotions, promotes feelings of goodwill toward yourself and others. Another study found that meditation reduces the fight or flight activity and increases vagal modulation. Do we know what that is? Vagal modulation, Mari?
I think it means it decreases the extremes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I recommend, if you've never done much meditation, the Insight Timer application is terrific. It's free. They've got 10,000 meditations on it. If you've been doing something like that, I always say go to the next level. Transcendental meditation is terrific, the greatest. Yep. My meditation teacher teaches a form of that, and of course I can't promote it that way because you'll end up getting sued, but it's very, very similar. And so if you ever want any information on his work, you could email me. But TM is what I like about TM is it creates also a community of people. If you got questions for life, you also have them. And supplements, omega-3s, probiotics, exercise and rhythmic movement. So this is kind of getting into some of the weird stuff, like how do you directly interact with your own nervous system? And it turns out grandma in her rocking chair, rhythmic movement, walking, taking a walk, and in reference to exercise, the suggested routine is lifting heavy weights, high intensity interval training. So like do some sprinting, don't just do walks, but see if you can get on a spin bike and for 30 seconds, go all out. Walking is ideally 30 to 60 minutes every day. Swaying is also, I don't know if you've ever seen, my brother-in-law, I noticed when he's sitting there, he'll kind of do this thing, and drives my sister crazy. She's like, why does he do that? It's like, well, now I know. His nervous system called him to do that for years. So okay, next, socializing and laughing. Socializing and laughing like we're doing today, socializing, being in a safe container. It reduces the body's main stress hormone and stimulates the vagus nerve. Research has discovered that influencing positive social connections improves vagal tone and increases positive emotions. Laughter has been shown to increase heart rate variability, which is just an indicator. I'm not sure if you know about HeartMath. HeartMath is an organization that tracks the heart rate variability and can tell if you're in fight or flight just based on heart rate variability, which just means, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was going to say, anybody here know what a hoop is?
A hoop? Nope.
We had a co-leader one time that showed up on a weekend. He had one, but it's a device that you wear on your wrist. And with the marathon, people that are training intensively use that. And what it does is it measures the heart rate variability and lets them know when they're overtraining. And heart rate variability is different than your heart rate. Your heart rate is your average number of beats per minute, might be 60, 75, whatever. But the heart rate variability measures the time interval between heartbeats, which varies. And that's what we're talking about right here by variability. In other words, 60 beats per minute is not, regular, or there's a variability between them. I don't know if I'm explaining that well now, but if you were to look at an EKG, there's a distance between the spikes, a difference in the distance between spikes. That's the best way to say it. You got that, Greg?
Yeah, the heart rate variability. So in other words, for me, the way I would interpret it is that you in 1 second, your heart rate could be 80 beats a minute. The next second, it could be 60. When you look at your over a minute, you're just looking at an average heart rate for the minute. Yeah. And that's what we usually go off. 75 is optimum, or 60 is optimum, whatever your age is. But there's a lot of variability in there. And the more variability, the more stressed you are. I believe that's correct, right? Yeah. So yeah, body rhythmic movement is walking, swaying, rocking chair, and dancing also. I went back. Hey, how do you like that? I just turned 50, so 55, so I have an excuse. Yes. So my advice is to hang out and laugh with your friends. Although I should probably be taking my own advice. During COVID, I have not been socializing. I was at a social event first time in a year and a half yesterday, and it felt so good to be around people again. Oh my God. No over 50 jokes. Okay, Stephen. And yes, you can do laughter yoga. Mix the two. That's the Kataria. Yes. Self-massage. for all your dirty minds, I'm talking about massaging your ears. So research shows that massage can stimulate the vagus nerve, and massage is one of the easiest, ear massage is one of the easiest ways to access. So if at the end of this, I created a YouTube playlist of about 10 different videos that are my go-tos to kind of stimulate. So it's not just, this is not the end of the class, but on one of them, I think one of the last videos, you can actually hit a lot of your acupuncture points on your ears. So how are we doing so far, everyone? Yeah, go for it, John. Guys have any questions? I just wanted to pause for a moment before we get into the next area. All right, the next one is kind of I'm gonna demo it. It is, what did I call it? Eye movement ventral vagal activation. I just made it up, but they didn't have a name for it. But again, your eyes are so close to your brain and this vagus nerve that it tends, there's a whole branch of psychology called EMDR, eye movement retraining. I can't remember what it is. Does anyone know what that EMDR stands for?
Eye movement desensitization reprogramming.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Yeah. So this one is a simplified version. That, you know, what they discovered with EMDR is a psychologist was walking through the forest, and she was noticing, God, and every time I come back from a nice walk, I'm in so much a better mood. I was in a bummer mood. Now I'm much better. But what they tracked, what she just realized, that is this movement of her eyes was going this way and this way, and looking around, looking up, looking down, that it communicated with her vagus nerve that says, hey, everything's cool, everything's calm. And if you think about it, the opposite is you're sitting there at work in a cubicle, you can't see very far, and all you can see is 2 feet in front of you, and automatically you're in a heightened state of arousal. So so I'll describe what I'm going to do, and then we will do it together. So again, it's called the eye movement ventral vagal activation. So I'm just going to put the hands behind my head, slightly lean back, and put my eyes over to the far right, as far right as I can. If anyone, I'll warn you about this one, anyone that's feeling sleepy, I did this with my wife a few hours ago, and she says, I got to go take a nap. So don't do it. Just watch it. Try it tomorrow if you guys are kind of getting tired. So anyways, it doesn't have that effect on me, but leaning back and taking a breath, relaxing, and then putting our eyes over to the far right as you can for 30 seconds. I'll let you know when 30 seconds is up. Okay. I don't know about you, but when I do that, my breathing goes from the shallow to very deep and slow. So again, your nervous system knows what to do. And that's the other sign I said about the saliva in your mouth, but also your breathing. You know you're chilled out when your breathing does that kind of 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. So any questions about that one?
That was upper far right, not just right? Upper far right, you're looking.
Yes, yeah.
And not to the left. You don't equal it out by going to the left later or anything?
No,
Huh.
no, yeah. And you could experiment. Some people say you could go either way. The few videos that I watched, and it'll be on the playlist, is looking right. Okay, last but not least, we're going to do some tapping, acupressure tapping. It's basically, I call this a simplified, super simplified version of EFT, emotional freedom technique, and it's down to 2 points. Of course, you can get into the 7, or I think there's 17 points tapping all this, but it's kind of, I look at this as like emotional first aid. As soon as something hits your stuff, hit a couple points, close your eyes, tap on these points, calm down your nervous system so that your cognitive awareness and your social activation and all of that, all the good stuff, your wisdom comes back to how to deal with the moment in front of you. And so another, this is my favorite technique. So it's, it's just 2 main acupressure points. There's one right here, and you can use your whole open hand to hit the top of your head while you're hitting your collarbone points. So your collarbone is here. My collarbones are here and here, and then just below here. And some people use a full fist to hit, or they go like this, like a wishbone. And so the top of the head, I can't really do it with my cast, but top of the head, and then this point at the same time. And what this does, again, is as emotional acupressure. And you want to center yourself on whatever is hitting your stuff, whatever's pushing your buttons. So if your boss just yelled at you, you would center your attention, or you would talk. You would say, oh, look at Stephen knows the different points. Look at that. Showing off, the best student. Okay, so but basically you're going to say, even though my boss yelled at me, so my boss yelling at me, closing your eyes and tapping for 2 minutes. So I know we're short on time, but I just wanted to show you the points, and that's the top of the head right up there. Does anyone have any questions about the points or how that works? Okay.
Great.
Oh, yes, Mike.
I'm curious about the verbalization that happens during the tapping. What could you say more about that?
Yeah. Again, this is the very shortened version of the tapping 2 point. Usually you would say something like, even though my boss yelled at me, I deeply and completely accept myself. But this is shortened down. My boss just yelled at me. I go into the bathroom and I tap, get away from him. And so I'm in private, and I would say something like, my boss yelling at me, boss yelling at me, boss yelling at me. So I'm putting my attention on the trigger along with the activation in the body. And what a lot of EFT people will not tell you is to close your eyes. A lot of people, they're on their video and they're tapping, and you're not going internal. You have to, in my opinion, you go internal. You can feel your body. You can neurocept. You going from fight or flight, or a dorsal vagal down into the social activation. So does that answer your question, Mike? Okay, cool. So it basically, in conclusion, you don't have to be controlled by your body and your mind. You now have the ability, yay, you have now the ability to befriend your nervous system and actually develop a relationship with this nervous system that is running the show. I mean, your nervous system it says, okay, I'm attracted to this girl or this man. I'm going to go after this job. It's the nervous system that's doing all this. And before this, I wasn't in control at all, other than, you know, meditating or doing some EFT. But being able to neurocept where I'm at has been key with the polyvagal. So
Right.
next we'll do the mapping of the nervous system.
The first thing is for me to be aware of what state I'm in. So what I would invite you to do, and I'm gonna pull up a chart for you in a minute, but think of a word that describes each one of the three states that you could use for yourself. Like the word I use for freeze for me is numb. What word might describe your freeze state?
I use confused.
There you go. Anybody?
I'm stuck.
Gone. I'm out of here.
I'm
Closed
out
off.
here. Yeah.
For me, it's trapped.
Trap. There you go.
Yep.
Okay.
Overwhelmed.
Okay. How about fight or flight?
Irritable for me.
Okay.
Hot.
Gone.
Pissed.
All right. And fight or flight counts. You know, I tend to use that a lot to describe myself. All right. How about social engagement?
Fun.
Flow. Laughter.
Connected. Mellow. So if you look
Yeah,
at the,
present, connected.
can you see the chart up here?
Yes.
Okay. So I invite you to create a chart like this or similar. And these are the states on the first column. The second one is a descriptive word that we just, you know, threw out there. And now, what triggers you to be in this freeze state? And there's going to be more than one. That's why I got 3 lines there. But I mean, you can, when you make your chart, you can put as many.
I have a question on the freeze state because I'm very familiar, like when I'm public speaker or something, when I actually do freeze. But other than that, I don't know that I go to that place very often, but maybe I do, and I'm just not aware.
All right. So yeah, I don't expect anybody here to fill out this chart. The key thing here is I want you to just grasp this chart, and then as your homework, my invitation is to, first of all, practice being aware of where you are. And, you know, you can use your descriptive word and then pay attention to what got you there. And they're going to be days that I'm going to just be ready to, you know, fight or flight and just ready to take on, cut somebody's head off. Well, then I'm going to back up and see what caused that. You know, I'm okay. So your triggers are going to be a really valuable thing to learn about. You know, very valuable thing to learn about ourselves individually. And then the behavior or the sensation, in other words, once I'm triggered to fight, how do I fight? Well, I get loud, I get big. I certainly don't listen to what you got to say. And I'm just feeling all this energy and stuff inside of me. So that's what happens to me when I'm here.
And fight or flight.
For me, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah. You know, how do I behave when I'm in social engagement? I'll tell you, one of the things I do when I'm in this relaxed, connected state, my sense of humor. I will tell jokes, and you know, y'all have been in circles with me before, and I'll just, you know, and that's a sign that I'm feeling really comfortable in the environment that I'm in. I'm feeling very safe. I mean, there are other things that I do, but that's just one thing that I'm aware of that I do. And then the last column is deactivation, or how do I get out of this place to freeze? And like Mark said, for me, one of the important things I know is I have to take some type of action. I move from this frozen place where I say I can't, you know, that's the whole energy that's going on with me, to take some action. It might just be to stand up and just move my body, walk fast, go outside, you know, do what is it that I can do to get me out of that state. And again, I'm not expecting everybody to come up with everything right here and now. And then the last one is, you know, how do I, of course, who wants to get out of social engagement? I like it there. But, and I want to emphasize that we need to have that it's important that I have compassion for myself in all three of these states, or whatever variability there is, because everything I'm doing, that my nervous system is doing for me, is helping to keep me safe in that situation. So I'm ready to fight and cut your head off because I am feeling threatened. So the best thing I can do is turn around and attack whoever it is that's posing this threat.
But unfortunately, I can't see all you men. But it was wonderful being with everyone, and it's nice to be in connection and actually noticing that, because I think the noticing comes inside of the ventral vagal, the connection process. That's where the sweetness of life is, and these tools have helped me and Mari, and it's been terrific. Thank you, John Warren and Cyber Kings, for inviting us in, and thanks, John Warren, for hosting us. Did a great job and took us through before. So and we're gonna probably there's a YouTube playlist along with that PDF. Some of the men weren't able to access the PDF. So we'll put together a list of things to send out to you men. With that, I'm out with lots of gratitude and appreciation for everyone.
Thanks, Mark.
So, Mark, are you including the chart? Because I think the chart, I mean, you can Google it and get it, but you know, let's send that out too.
Okay.
Right. All right. So first of all, thanks to you, Mark. It's been good getting to know you and to work with you, and I really appreciate the contribution you made tonight. And so thank you. And John, thanks for supporting us and holding my hand at 5:30 when I couldn't get my chart up, and you helped me. So appreciate that. And very grateful and appreciative that all you men showed up. It's just wonderful to see you all and to be with you. And my hope and prayer is that, you know, you'll get something worthwhile from this. So I'm checking out with a lot of love and gratitude, and yeah, it's as good as it gets. I'm in definitely ventral vagal space right now.